We all are gonna die. 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 Why don't we help each other prepare for it? Without death there cannot be life. I'm talking about end of life conversations, conversations about the end of life. Death and dying, grief and loss, conversations about the end of life.
He's sitting in a wheelchair, dressed in his monk's outfit, woolen cassock. He'd raise his hands up and he'd say, every time Thomas comes up, I let Thomas go. And he'd drop his hands. He did it over and over and over again. And then he said, one of these times, Thomas is going to come up. I'm going to let Thomas go. And Thomas won't come back up. He said, that's how I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And he said, that's death. I mean, you know, the egoic self no longer comes back up. So then I said, okay, so where do you go?
Welcome to this episode of End of Life Conversations. I'm Reverend Wakil David Matthews.
And I'm the Reverend Mother Ana Luisa Armendariz. In this podcast, we share people's experiences with death and dying, grief and loss, and the end of life.
We really enjoy all of our excellent and insightful guests. They generously tell their stories with compassion and wisdom. We also want to thank Wakil and Wendy's children and partners for that wonderful introductory song. Okay, let's get started.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today as we welcome Rabbi Rami Shapiro, PhD, who is an award-winning author of over 36 books on religion, spirituality, and recovery. Rami co-directs the One River Foundation, serves as a contributing editor for Spirituality and Health magazine, and writes the bi-weekly Substack, Ask Rabbi Rami.
Which I just went through today, just thinking how you had some great ones in there today about, or I guess it was a couple of days ago you did, about anti-Semitism, which I really enjoyed. Anti-Zionism versus anti-Semitism. So recommend that to everybody. Sign up. Really wonderful to speak with you. I really appreciate that you were able to join us.
Thank you for the invitation.
I subscribe to your Substack, and I read one recently that was about the way you talk to children about death and grief and dying. It was called Of Knots and Rope, and that was what inspired me to get in touch with Rabbi Rami, and I just thought it was such a great example of what we're trying to do, really, normalizing this conversation. So thank you for that. And thank you for graciously accepting our invitation.
Thank you for graciously inviting me.
So we like to start with this question because it kind of, I think it just gives us a way of knowing each other better. And that is, can you recall when you were first aware of death?
You know, it's an odd question, really. I don't know exactly what aware means when you say aware of death. I mean, I could think I had a parakeet when I was little and the parakeet died.
Yeah.
So I knew I didn't have a parakeet, but was I aware of death? I don't know. When I don't know what age this was, but I was also little. I remember going on my back. We didn't have a porch. We had like a cement patio behind, in the back of our house. And I would draw a circle and I would say to the ants, this is my territory, stay out. And if they came into the circle, I would kill them. So I knew I was killing them. So I knew there was death.
Yeah.
But did I really get the concept? Do I even still get the concept? I don't know. I was talking with Matthew Ricard, the Buddhist teacher, Tibetan Buddhist teacher, about his book on compassion. And I was sharing the story about the ants. And he said, when when an ant comes into your house or into your space or whatever, and if your tendency is to kill it, he says, what happens when your finger comes down and you're going to snuff out the ant's life? The ant runs. It tries to escape. And he says, the ant has this level of consciousness that is aware that its life is being threatened. And if you pay attention to the fact that it doesn't want to die, that is probably where I become most aware of death.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just listening to him say that and then becoming aware of, is what I do in my own house imperfectly. I try to catch the bugs. I try to catch the flies in a tissue or something and take them outside and shake them off and let them go. But they don't know that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
all they know is, you know, they don't know some guy is coming after them. All they know is some entity is trying. And their thing is, this is it. I've got to escape. So
Yeah.
they're running to save their lives. You can see that they've got a consciousness of being and non-being to some extent. And so I think that helps me be more aware of death by seeing it in ants or flies or whatever it is, that they have this existential, I'm on or I'm off. And I want to stay on. And they're my teachers, I think, in that respect, more than
Beautiful.
a memory that I may have had.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. That's maybe the most unique answer we've had. That's really, really beautiful. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that on two levels. One is I've been coexisting with ants that just appeared last week. And I just, I was like, we need to clean better on the counter. And yet yesterday I had that moment when I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I took a paper towel and I did plucked them all up and some of them got killed and they did run. And I said, I'm so sorry. 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 I need my boundaries right now. You can have everything else, but this cooktop is for me.
Yeah. No, I understand that. And I continue to inadvertently do that.
Yes.
And then I feel bad about it. And I some cases, I'll even say the Kaddish, the Jewish prayer for the dead, to sort of, to make their passing a little easier and
Yes.
remove some of the guilt on my end.
Yes.
But sometimes, and this is really not the topic, but sometimes I think I have them until I open the Kleenex and then, oh no.
And not only do you not have them, but now they're pissed.
Well, I had them. I was hugging them too tightly,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Inadvertently did something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want, I mean, mosquitoes, I can't.
Yeah.
I take my dog we walk for miles every day. And there's a place we go and we sit on a swing that she likes to sit on my lap and we just swing back and forth. And mosquitoes come. And my reaction to mosquitoes when I feel them is I slap them.
Yeah.
I don't say, Sister Mosquito, please, or
Maybe
offer them my blood. I'm not
Right.
doing that. I'm not a saint. So no, I'm
That's great.
a serial killer when it comes to mosquitoes, I guess. But it's not even conscious. It just
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing with life, though. It feels like it's not conscious, but maybe it is. So I had the ant story for you, and then also there's this little Japanese maple that I planted beside my house maybe about 15 years ago, and unfortunately, it's on the side of the house where I don't have water, so I just kind of remember sometimes to go water it in the summer, and it's really struggled. And for a few years, I actually thought it was dead, and this year, life has sprung. It's a little canopy, just a little one. It's almost like a bonsai maple tree. And I walked past it the other day and I thought, you still want to live in spite of the dearth of water and maybe the dearth of love that like, I'm not paying attention. I'm so sorry. And I was like, I will call somebody to try to get water to you. You have proven yourself to want to, or so, so
Worthy of life.
that does, right? And I guess it's, Wakil and I talk a lot about the different kinds of deaths we experience in our personal lives, just like the breath, the grief of a dream that's not going to coming to fruition. But so death has impacted all of our tales from the very beginning. So my question to you is, how has death impacted the story of your life?
Well, there's, if I heard you right as you set the question up, I mean, there's the death of a dream, the death of a relationship. I mean, those kinds of things. And I don't know if that's exactly what you want to talk about, but physical death when someone's life ends.
Yeah.
In my parents died, and that was quite traumatic. I lost an aunt during COVID. I mean, that was less traumatic because it was at a great distance and we couldn't really be with her. I've lost teachers.
Mhm.
My parents were elderly, And I suppose my teachers were elderly also, but they didn't seem that way to me. And so I've lost teachers, and that's been very profound in my life because I wasn't done learning. And of course, there's their books and things, but I wasn't done learning from them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with Father Thomas Keating.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Father Thomas, he was one of my most important teachers. And I went to see him as he was dying. He lasted longer than I thought, a few weeks longer than I thought, but I was with him very close to the end. And I asked him, because I realized most of the people that I know who are dying die without me next to them. My mom died, but I wasn't there. My dad, I was right with him, and then he sent my sister and I and my mom, he sent us out of the room, and then he died. He knew it. He just wanted to be alone, and then we came back. So, but I was with Father Thomas, and I knew he was dying very soon. And I had the opportunity to ask somebody who I believe was a deep spiritual person who understood the divine the way I do, who really knew God was manifesting as him, in him, with him, and everything else. And so I asked him, I said, how are you dying? I knew how he lived. I'd known him for decades, but how are you dying? And he gave me one of the most profound teachings. I don't want to exaggerate the deathbed thing, but it was weeks before he died. So I'm thinking, in my mind, to me, it's like a deathbed teaching. And he said, I'm dying the way I lived.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but he cupped his hands like you cup water. And he said, this is how I live my life. He said, every time Thomas would come up, every time the egoic would come up, I'd let Thomas go. And he'd drop his hands into his lap. He's sitting in a wheelchair, dressed in his monk's outfit, woolen cassock. He'd raise his hands up and he'd say, every time Thomas comes up, I let Thomas go. And he'd drop his hands. He'd did it over and over and over again. And then he said, one of these times, Thomas is going to come up. I'm going to let Thomas go. And Thomas won't come back up. He said, that's how I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And he said, that's death. I mean, the egoic self no longer comes back up. So then I said, okay, so where do you go? And I figured, because he's Catholic, and I thought, if you ask me that question, I have my answer, nowhere. But I thought, okay, he's Catholic, and maybe there's more to it than his mind. And he gives me this look, which I can't duplicate, but he gives me this look, which basically says, we've been together this long and you still ask me that stupid question. That's so ridiculous. But what he said basically was, you don't go anywhere, because without that limited self, you're the whole thing. So you just, it's like the wave returning to the ocean, or like Wakil, like you mentioned from my Substack example, you're a knot on this infinite rope. And when you die, the knot is untied. So that specific shape that we associate with Ana Luisa or with Rami or with Wakil, that specific knot, that specific shape is gone, but that shape was only the rope. And the rope remains. So you don't go anywhere. But your egoic consciousness is gone. Your sense of limited self is gone. Thomas is gone. Rami is gone. Whomever is gone. But that's not who you really are. You're really the rope, the ocean, the cosmos, the Christ mind, the Buddha mind, whatever, Buddha nature, however you want to articulate it. But you're the vastness, and that doesn't die. So being with people who are dying is probably has had a greater impact on my life than people who have died.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree totally. And that's one of the things well, first of all, my dad did the same thing as yours. He waited till I left the room. So, I've heard that's very common actually, but also just that sense of the inner, the divine, that's all of us, that we're all manifesting, is not something in time. And so it doesn't go away like that. I love that thing very, very much. And I love that idea too, of just that's the impact that it has on our lives, is to be able to witness that when we witness people changing their form.
Yeah.
Is that a really sacred moment?
It is. And sometimes it's sacred and humorous at the same time.
Sure.
I once got a phone call when I was in the congregational rabbinate. I was also at the VA as a chaplain. I was an Air Force chaplain. And then I volunteered at the VA afterwards. And I got this call saying this guy was dying and you have to get there as fast as you can. And by the time I got there, he had died. And his son was standing outside his hospital room. And I apologized for not being there in time. And the guy goes, oh, don't worry about it. He'll be back. And I thought to myself, wow, this guy's in serious denial. And we were just talking. And then you hear from inside the hospital room, Sonny. And he came back. And we went in. And the guy said to me, he's been doing this all day. He dies, he comes back. He dies, he comes back.
Wow.
That is
there you go.
cool.
So eventually he didn't come back.
Yeah.
That's
great.
I mean, I've got a lot of stories about people who have impacted my life in their by allowing me to be with them in their dying. Some of them are great teachers like Father Thomas. Some of them are just ordinary people like this guy who just was coming back.
Yeah.
But where Father Thomas gave a teaching from, I would say, I don't know if this is going to make sense. He gave a teaching from Thomas. You know what I mean? Like this is his understanding, infused by the divine because of a lifetime of contemplative living. And this other fellow was just coming back and going out. It was so different. But if you'll indulge me with one more story, I was with this 16-year-old boy who was dying. And he had become enamored with Swami Muktananda. And I think is it Siddha yoga practice? I think that's Swami Muktananda.
Right, yeah.
And he was practicing meditation, and I was supporting his practice. His family was, we're Jews. What's he doing? And I said, no, this is fine. Don't worry about it. It's not. I mean, I'm an initiate in the Ramakrishna order of Advaita Vedanta Hinduism, as well as a rabbi. I mean, I'm spent 10 years in Zen world.
I gotcha.
So I'm not locked into a box.
Yeah.
And here was this teenager who found solace in the practice of Siddha yoga. So we're sitting in his hospital room, and he is dying. He's unconscious. And we're just waiting for him to pass. And then all of a sudden, he sits up in bed, which he couldn't do. Just, he was too sick to do that normally. But he sat up in bed. His face is glowing like a beacon. He's got this huge smile. And he's looking at each person. And he just says, I found it. And then he died. And he fell back on the pillow and he was gone. And it was amazing. And then I jumped on the bed. I grabbed him. I shook him. I said, what? What did you find? No, I didn't.
What did you find?
I didn't do that. I didn't. I thought about it, but I didn't do it. But he had some awakening as, like Thomas would say, as Thomas just went into the hole, the wave returns to the ocean. This kid had that experience, but we who were witnessing it were lucky enough that he could share that moment of dissolving with his family, with me, with some others in the room, to show us what that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to romanticize it, but it's you've got the Ganesh over your shoulder. I mean, it seems to me that he was experiencing or entering into pure, Sat Chit Ananda, pure consciousness, pure being, pure bliss. And he was embodying it before he died.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, what a gift that he gave to his family.
It turns out that all of those people we get to be with are teachers, right? In the end. They all teach us. Well, I'd love to hear more about what you're currently working with and the kind of work you're doing. These stories are great. And if there's more you want to talk about that you're specifically working on now, you putting any books together?
Oh, I'm always putting books together. I mean, writing is how I stay sane.
Yeah.
My whole day is meditation, chanting, walking the dog, and writing stuff. So
nice.
I love that.
I don't have a job anymore. So those are the things I get to do. So I'm always writing. And I focus on two things when I write. I'm not talking about my Substack work. Substack is how I look at what's happening in the world and I go, so I write about it to get it out of my system. But, I write about what I call perennial wisdom, which is, the fourfold truth that all religions, I think, all the mystical systems point to, that everything is a manifesting of the one thing. You and I and all beings all human beings have the capacity to know that, to experience that, to awaken to that. Awakening brings you a sense of moral clarity. And I would say that's like the golden rule. And having that awakening and living the golden rule is the highest achievement you can have in your life. So that's perennial wisdom. And I write about that. And then I apply that to Judaism in what I call 1 foot Judaism, after a story in the Talmud, which is an anthology of rabbinic teachings from 2,000 years ago, where a Roman soldier accosts a famous Rabbi Hillel, and he says, "Teach me the entire Torah while I stand on 1 foot." And Hillel just says, "What's hateful to you, don't do to anybody else." That's the entire Torah, the whole teaching of Judaism. He says everything else is commentary. So I take him literally. And so my Judaism is the golden rule. And then all the traditions around it, all the rituals, all the holidays, I adapt them so that they serve to enhance my living of the golden rule. So I write about the Jewish part and I write about the perennial part. And that's my life at the moment.
Tell me a little more, if you would, about the other, like the Zen and the Hindu practices that you were involved with earlier on, if you like.
Sure. I stumbled on Zen. I read a book when I was in high school called by Christmas Humphreys, called Zen Comes West. Christmas Humphreys was the head of the Buddhist Society, maybe it was called, in England. Alan Watts was a kid, and he was part of that with Christmas Humphreys. And Christmas Humphreys wrote this book, Zen Comes West. And I don't know how I got a copy, but I got a copy, and it just really blew me away. I was an Orthodox Jewish kid, and I read this Zen book, and I said, "Whoa, this is phenomenal." And I started practicing Zazen, Zen meditation, from a book, which, I don't know, I did the best I could. But when I was 16, I had 2 weird things happen to me. One was in the Zen end of my life. It was in the summer. I was visiting a friend for part of my summer break, and I was meditating alone. I was the only one interested in this Buddhist stuff. Everyone else was doing drugs. But I was drug-free and serious about my meditation practice. And I was meditating on a shore of a lake, and I don't know what happened because I wasn't there. Rami disappeared. It was that Thomas fell away. Rami fell away. And when I came back, I felt totally connected to everything. I felt, you could say, I felt love for and from the universe for about 13 seconds, but that was, that was my first experience about what contemplative practice can do for you. And then I took, I went much more seriously into the Zen world with Suzaki Roshi, was my Zen master. But the same summer, or the same year, my 16th year, my mother came into my bedroom one night after midnight. And like I said, we were Orthodox, so this made sense to her when she came into my bedroom. And I was the only person in my family that really read. And the books I read were on Judaism and Hinduism and Buddhism and all this stuff. She didn't understand it. My father didn't understand it. And she came in, I was reading, and she sat down on the edge of my bed. And in all seriousness, she asked me if I were the Messiah.
Wow.
And I lied and said no. I told her no. Now if someone said that, I would have said, "Well, I'm God, and so are you. Don't worry about it," that kind of thing. But it was traumatic
Yeah.
experience with my mother, and we both wept. I don't even know what happened in that moment, but there was some transition going on in my 16th year that I was experiencing through meditation. She was seeing from the outside, somehow sensing, and this is how she verbalized it. And then I went, more deeply into Zen. But the Hindu stuff also spoke to me because Hinduism and Judaism share. I mean, they both allow for deities. They both allow for. There seems to be more of a. You can make the transition from one to the other. The transition or the playing with both of them is easier than with Buddhism, which is more, there's no real God to play with. You don't really need that in Buddhism. Whereas in Hinduism, you have Brahman, which is like the Ein Sof, the endless, infinite, formless reality in Judaism. So you have these theological things to play with, and I just love playing with theological concepts. But my practice ultimately, though I do meditate, the silent meditation, my primary practice is chanting. I find that, I don't know, I was going to say easier. I don't know if the right word is, but I find that just, I mean, I have a set of chants in Hebrew and a set of chants in Sanskrit. Some of the Sanskrit ones I do because when I was initiated into the Ramakrishna order, I promised. So I've been doing them daily for 12 years or more, whenever that was. But the Hebrew ones are ones that I learned from Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi, my Rebbe on the Jewish side, and just some that I came across in my studies of other Jewish mystical sages. And they just embedded themselves in my head. Chanting is something that happens
with ease.
Yeah, it comes easily, but it happens almost by itself
Yeah.
Okay.
throughout the day.
Yeah, I like that. I love chanting is one of my favorite things. Well, we have Sufi practice where we do zikr, and that's basically a chant practice and prayer, like movement prayer. There's also, we have a lot of people doing, we have Gina Salah. I don't know if you know Gina Salah, but she's our local person doing Hindu chant work with us, and that's always, I love going to, in fact, we're doing one this week.
Well, yeah, I mean, so the power of chant. I mean, if you're doing zikr, I mean, there's different ways of doing zikr, but the zikr that we used to, when I ran retreats, we had a Sufi sheikh as part of our team, and we always did zikr as part of the retreat. And you had, the physical movement in the circle chanting La ilaha illallah, over and over again. I don't know, 5 minutes and you're already, the room is shifting and your whole consciousness is shifting.
Like tap in.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't think it's the phrase itself. I don't think it matters what you say so much as the sound, maybe. So, there's a lot of sounds in the chanting that I do, even though they're different languages. So anyway, there's something transformative about the vibration.
Yeah, exactly. And the gathering of
the
circle.
physical gathering and being in close and moving the body. Yeah.
And it can be also by yourself. You can also get that same, I find anyway, that I get the same, not the same, it's a different experience by myself, but it's certainly that same kind of transcendental connection to I am nothing, neti and at the same time I'm connected, I'm the manifestation of all, and everything else is too. And so I appreciate that. That's great.
I mean, every religion says that. And every religion misunderstands it.
Right.
Many of them.
Also, I studied with Wakil for a while and learning Sufi until I was like, this is just another technology to create the opening for me to connect with the divine. And yet, like the divine was like, yo, I'm right here. You know this. You don't have to go through all these steps in order for you to open the door. And I remember like training for my Reiki master class, right? It's like, these are all just like light switches so that you can be the conduit. And I will go for my morning walks and be doing, bird listening, tree watching, cloud delighting. And all of a sudden it's like the wazifas will just flow out. And it's literally like it's that switch that just immediately goes, oh, we're in sacred space right now. It's different. So let's, and but it's a little switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And ultimately, there's no distinction between sacred and whatever the
Right.
non-sacred is, right? It's just
Yeah.
the whole thing is God. It's yin and yang. It's all part of
Mhm.
the same supreme ultimate reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Even the
we make,
insanity.
yes, right. Even the insanity. We divide these things up and then we say this is good and this is bad and this
Right.
is sacred and this is not sacred. But that's the human ego does that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
you
just
know,
part of the
actually,
madness.
I'm going to say, I think that the reason I just made that distinguish that it's sacred time is that when I do set out every morning and I check the trees to see which birds have been flying through. And so in that moment, I am using language to, like, I'm not meditating, right? I am thinking thoughts and saying that is this is that. And then all of a sudden, when things shift for me, it goes very quiet in my mind. The words, the language just falls away. And so I think for me, that sacred time is that I'm suddenly in an open space so that it can flow both ways. And I'm not hindering it by judging it and creating a language or a storyline behind it. It's just, it.
Oh yeah, I understand that. And there's different qualities to the different
Mhm.
experiences, however you put that. I just meant that when you're naming the birds, that's also sacred. When you're
Yeah.
not naming the birds, it's
That's right.
there's a practice in Judaism from the Psalms. I think it's Psalm 116, but don't hold me to it. Where you're chanting. Technically, it's Shiviti, which means I place before me, and then the name of God, Negdi Tamid, always. But the way I was taught to do it, because you can't pronounce the name of God, so
Right.
the euphemism they put in place is the one Adonai, which means Lord, which I can't
Mhm.
say because it's horrible. I can't. That's so wrong for me. But I have a deep connection to the Divine Mother. So a
Mhm.
lot of times I'll experience the divine as the feminine. And
Mhm.
so I was taught to say Shiviti Shechina Lenegdi Tami, which means I place the Divine Mother or I behold the Divine Mother before me always. And you want to be able to name the trees and name the birds and name the homeless guy and not it's not all one. It's actually each is a unique manifestation of
The
the
divine.
Divine Mother and
Yeah.
see the
Yeah.
mother as
It's beautiful.
this thing or that thing and not have it all get erased in one in a cosmic
Yeah.
tofu
Mhm.
thing or something,
Cosmic overlay.
which is also fine. But so everything
It's all
is
okay, and it's
grist.
all different. It's all
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
It's all okay.
Right. It's all part
It's
of
a
it.
Mobius strip of language.
Well, Mobius strip. Yeah, I've got a Mobius strip over behind in front of me over here because it's a great example. The Mobius strip
Yeah.
is a great
Yeah.
physical metaphor of what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, we're getting into the time we like to finish up, but we've got a couple things we always like to ask. Well, let's see, where are we? But I think probably the ones that we'd most like to know more about is there anything any practices that you have? You've kind of shared some already that kind of help you stay grounded, and especially in the insanity that we're all working with right now. Anything that you can share with us that brings you back to presence and centeredness?
Chanting. I mean, chanting is how I stay centered.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, I chant in Hebrew or Sanskrit, but in those situations where I'm looking to center, I make conscious choices of which mantra to choose. In Hebrew, one of the simplest ones is it's one word in Hebrew, but it's two in English. Ha Rachaman. It means the compassionate one. It would be HARACHAMAN, but it's all one thing. Ha Rachaman. And there's no music. It's just Harachaman, Harachaman, Harachaman. And when I do that, because I've been doing it a long time, my anxiety center, everything falls down, my breathing slows, I get more centered. And you're supposed to be able to then see the situation and the other and the people around you, whatever, through the eyes of compassion. I mean, I have stories around that I could share, but we're going to run out of time. But it always works. It's Pavlovian. I mean, eventually these things become
Yeah.
instilled in your head. And when they come up, they just work their magic on you. And it's not, okay, calm down,
Right.
Yeah.
or like that old Seinfeld episode, Serenity Now. Well, it's not going to happen. But these techniques are very, very powerful, and they can keep you grounded.
Yeah. I love that. And I think it's, of course, the Arabic and the Hebrew is so different, right? So the Rahman is Arabic for the
Yeah.
same thing.
The same thing.
Yeah.
Al-Rahman, Al-Rahim. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are also one of the things we do in Zikr sometimes, and that's just mercy and compassion. So yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and what do you wish we had asked you today? What would you like to share how would you like to teach us? How would you like to teach us? Because you taught me all that. I'm like, I'm going to remember how much.
And you could say it in the Arabic way. It's probably just the same thing. What I want to teach, I think we've talked about the things that matter to me. There's a Yiddish phrase that summarizes my whole understanding of reality. And it's, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's Alt is Gott. Alt is like ALTZ, second word is IZ, and the third is capital GOTT. Everything is God. And that's how I see the world. That's how I understand the world. And it seems to me if we really knew that everything is Brahman, everything is Christ, everything is Krishna, everything is Allah. If we really understood that, we would, what St. Paul says in Philippians 2 somewhere, he says, let the mind that is in Christ be also in you. And that's chanting does that. Meditation can do that. But what does it mean to have the mind of Christ, or to realize Buddha nature, or to realize Krishna consciousness, or any of these things? It's to realize that you and everything else is the happening of the divine. One of the things that, if you just indulge me for a second, one of the things that saddens me is that the Jewish tradition is so misunderstood by Jews, but also others. So when and I don't believe any of this stuff is literally true. People wrote these books, but whoever wrote the third chapter of Exodus, where God reveals the nature of deity to Moses, there are two words that are revealed. One is Ehyeh, and the other is the unpronounceable Yud-He, Vav-He, YHVH. It's literally unpronounceable. It's just four consonants. Both of them are verbs. They're the same verb, the verb to be or to happen. Ehyeh is the first person. It's the I am, as a gerund, I aming. It's the I-ing of the universe. It's what Ramana Maharshi talks about in the Sargadatta Maharaj. It's the I am that Jesus referenced when he says in John, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So we think of Jesus saying, no, me, Jesus, I'm it, and I'm only it. But he's Jewish, and he's taking it from Exodus, and he's saying the I am is the way, the truth, and the life.
Right.
And then the second is the third person of the same verb. And so when we talk about God, we're talking about a happening, something that's dynamic, something that's fluid. So the whole universe is the happening of deity, whether you understand it with form, without form, as mother, which is I'm more comfortable with, or as father, which many people like. But anyway, however you deal with it, however you language it, it's the happening of this divine energy. And you and I are that. And that's why it's, alt is God. Everything is the happening of this divine energy.
Yeah. That's usually how I translate La ilaha illallah when people ask me.
There's nothing other than God.
Divine. Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you. Well, we have this wonderful document that you sent to us, and we thought we would take turns reading it. Why don't you tell us a little about what inspired you to write it, and then we'll take turns reading.
I got a phone call telling me that a beloved was dying and I had to do something. And I wrote this that turned out to be something that I didn't have to use in that specific case yet. But a lot of people found very, very helpful to read, either to someone who's very close to death or someone who's just died, or even I've heard people read it at funerals. But the idea is that there's still consciousness lingering even at that moment of transition where the 16-year-old says, I found it, that
Right.
there's still consciousness there that you can address, or sort of like the Tibetan Book of the Dead, where you're reading to the soul that is eventually going to be, just returned to the
Reconnected.
universe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wrote this to be read to that person. And the idea is to read it. It's not short, but it's not too long, but to really address it to the individual and then read it with that kind of concentration or that kind of tempo slowly.
Well, I think it would be really beautiful and appropriate maybe if we read it slowly. It's like in the Christian world, they call it Lectio Divina, where you just spend time really with the words. And for our audience, we can share that. And we'll have some way to find it, reference to it so they can have a copy of it.
Okay. Listen, beloved, and yield to the truth of what is happening. Trust my words. Rest in my voice. Be still and know all is God.
Listen, beloved, you are not only the smaller self with its sensing, feeling, thinking, and doing. You are also the greater self beyond all sensing, feeling, thinking, and doing. You are not only the name you carry, but the unnamed that carries you.
Listen, beloved, you are to this world what a wave is to the ocean that waves it, a precious and never to be repeated happening of the one happening as all happening.
Listen, beloved, you are a way the one laughs and weeps and loves and suffers. You are a way the one knows itself as the many. You are a way the whole knows itself as each part. And soon you will be a way the part comes to know itself as the one. You are becoming what you have always been, the non-dual aliveness, forever birthing and dying.
Listen, beloved, you have had many experiences in life. Some matched your desires, others did not. Some fulfilled your goals, others did not. Some upheld your values, others did not. Some brought you great joy, others brought you great suffering. These may arise in your mind as memories, reflections, yearnings, and regrets. Do not cling to what arises, only acknowledge the arising. Say yes to what was without excuse or explanation.
Listen, beloved, as you die, the faces of loved ones may come to you. Welcome each face with, I love you. Do not cling, excuse, or explain. Without clinging, excuse, and explanation, there is only love.
Listen, beloved, as you die, the faces of those you may have hurt may come to you. Welcome each face with, I am sorry. Do not cling, excuse, or explain. Without clinging, excuse, and explanation, there is only forgiveness.
Listen, beloved, as you die, the faces of those who may have hurt you may come to you. Welcome each face with, I forgive you. Do not cling, excuse, or explain. Without clinging, excuse, and explanation, there is only peace.
Listen, beloved, as you die, you may begin to forget, but you will not be forgotten. You may begin to let go, but you will not be abandoned. You may begin to drift, but you will never be set adrift. You are loved. I am here. You are not alone.
Listen, beloved, soon you may find yourself without moorings. This is because moorings are of the past, and you are entering the eternal present. But you can still hear my voice. Attend to my voice. Trust my voice. Let my voice guide you.
Listen, beloved, you are yielding to the light. Allow the light to draw you closer. You may perceive the presence of others. Some you know, some you don't. They are here to comfort you as I'm here to comfort you. Acknowledge them, feel their love and welcome their support, but do not cling to them. They are here to honor your dying, but they have no place in your death. Let them come and let them go.
Listen, beloved. The closer you get to the lighter you will feel. You were a being, now you are being itself. You were a mind, now you are consciousness itself. You were happy and sad, now you are only bliss.
Listen, beloved, my voice may be fading. My love is not. Let me release you with this prayer. May you be free from fear. May you be free from compulsion. May you be blessed with love. May you be blessed with peace. You were loved. You are loved. You are love.
Thank you so much for that.
No, thank you for reading that with me.
Yeah, wow, so beautiful. Well, yeah, I have to breathe a little bit. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us on the End of Life Conversations. We appreciate you and look forward to sharing our stories. We encourage you to subscribe to have access to premium episodes and extra resources. Links to our guests and their recommendations and a transcript of this episode will be in the podcast notes.
Yes, thank you so much. And please tell all your friends. Follow us on social media, and again, consider subscribing for some excellent premium content. We want to acknowledge that the music we are using was composed and produced by Charles Heastand. We also want to acknowledge that we live on unceded lands that have been cared for thousands of years by indigenous peoples who are still here.